Hey everyone, before the story begins, please subscribe to the channel and stay until the end. This story is slow, emotional, and every moment matters. My wife messaged at 1842, just as the church bells of St. Stephen's Cathedral echoed through the Vienna evening. I'm not your possession. I'll come home late. Don't call. I stood on the tram platform, phone glowing in my hand, the cold of early March slipping through my coat. For a long moment, I watched strangers pass, students laughing, an old man feeding pigeons, a couple arguing in hushed voices. Ordinary lives, ordinary lies. I replied after exactly 1 minute. I'm not you. She read it. No answer followed. Her name was Clara Weiss, lawyer, rising fast, the kind of woman people listen to without realizing why. We'd been married 16 years. Long enough for habits to replace affection and silence to become a language of its own. I wasn't always a quiet man, but silence had been my inheritance. I grew up in Linz, in a concrete block overlooking the Danube. My father worked at a steel plant until privatization erased his job and his pride in the same breath. He drank after that, not violently. Worse, passively. He watched life happen to him, then blamed my mother for surviving it better. Clara hated that story, said it made me emotionally evasive. She preferred her own childhood narrative, ambitious parents, dinner conversations about law and influence, a belief that the world bent for those who applied enough pressure. She applied pressure to everything, including me. At first, I mistook her intensity for love. That night, she didn't come home until after midnight. I lay awake listening to the radiator tick, the city muffled by fog. When the door finally opened, her heels sounded sharp, deliberate. You didn't call, she said, hanging her coat. You asked me not to. She smiled thinly. Good, you're learning. I looked at her then, really looked. The expensive perfume, unfamiliar. A faint mark on her neck she didn't bother to hide. Who is he? I asked. She laughed. That's adorable. You think it's about a man. Everything is about power with you, I said. Her eyes hardened. Careful. I nodded. Of course. That was the night I decided not to beg, not to confront, not to leave. I decided to watch. Clara worked late more often. Business trips multiplied. She guarded her phone like a weapon. I became invisible by design, agreeable, quiet, useful. I cooked, I cleaned, I listened, and I remembered. My mother used to say the worst damage is done politely. I began tracing patterns. Calendar entries, expense reports she carelessly synced to the shared tablet. A name surfaced repeatedly. Marcus Feldner, senior partner, married, well-connected, untouchable by reputation. I also noticed something else, irregularities in Clara's cases. Clients she pushed too hard, settlements that smelled wrong, documents filed just slightly out of sequence. Pressure leaves fingerprints. Spring came early that year. Cherry blossoms along the Stat Park opened like secrets. I took long walks after work, letting ideas settle. I contacted my estranged uncle, Stefan, my father's younger brother. He'd left Austria years ago after exposing corruption in a regional bank. Paid the price. Lived quietly now in Graz, teaching ethics at a small university. You finally sound like your father, he said after I told him everything. But smarter. Will you help me? A pause. Not for revenge, he said. For truth. That will be enough, I replied. Clara underestimated stillness. She didn't notice when I began copying files from the tablet, or when I attended public hearings she'd mentioned casually, sitting in the back rows, listening. Or when I volunteered at a legal aid center, learning how the system bent under the right weight. Marcus Feldner appeared everywhere once I knew how to look. Committees, foundations, closed-door dinners disguised as charity. Their affair was sloppy. Their professional overlap wasn't. By summer, I had a map, not proof, a map of pressure points. The confrontation came unexpectedly. We attended a formal reception at the Hofburg Palace. Chandeliers, violins, carefully measured smiles. Clara stood radiant beside Marcus, her hand resting just a bit too comfortably on his arm. I approached them with 2 glasses of wine. Marcus, I said pleasantly, I've heard so much. His smile faltered for half a second. Clara's eyes warned me, don't. I admire powerful partnerships, I continued, especially when they're built on shared risk. Marcus laughed nervously. Excuse me? Clara pulled me aside, nails digging into my wrist. What are you doing? Standing, I said. Something I forgot how to do. Her voice dropped. You think you can threaten us? You're nothing. I leaned closer. I come from nothing. That's why I know how fragile everything is. The fallout took months. Anonymous reports reached the Bar Association. Journalists began asking careful questions. Marcus's wife hired a private investigator. One lie exposed another, then another. Clara came home shaking one night, makeup streaked, rage barely contained. This is your fault, she hissed. You poisoned them against me. No, I said gently. I just stopped absorbing it. She tried everything then. Tears, apologies, seduction, threats, promises of change, accusations of abuse. When none worked, she grew cold. Divorce papers arrived in September. I signed them without argument. The climax wasn't dramatic. No courtroom confession, no public disgrace, just erosion. Marcus resigned quietly for health reasons. Clara lost major clients. Her name became a liability. Invitations stopped. Friends drifted. One rainy evening in November, she sat across from me in a cafe near the Danube Canal, hands wrapped around untouched coffee. You planned this, she said. I survived it, I replied. She laughed bitterly. You think you're better than me now? No, I said. I think I'm free. After the divorce, I sold the apartment, moved to a smaller place near the hills. I visit my father's grave sometimes. I tell him I didn't disappear. Vienna keeps shining. Imperial, indifferent, beautiful. Power still circulates through quiet rooms, but not through me anymore. Her message still lives in my phone history. I'm not your possession. She was right. Neither was I.